Now, it's important to realise that Titleist have been the #1 driver on tours for the last 5 to 10 years. And all that technology has been brought into the new release of the GTS range. And with the performance that they found on tour, they've brought that performance now to you as the club golfer. There's 3 heads that I want to put to the test today. Let's take a closer look in this video. Now, I've been a Titleist driver user for the past probably about 8 years, so I've seen some generational changes here, running from the TS range now into what we're seeing in the GTS range. And I've seen some development when it comes to the performance for me personally, seeing the increases in ball speed, but also the increases in accuracy, which is obviously really, really important. Generational technology with speed and stability. That's what we're getting from GTS. We've got the offering of the #2, the #3 and the 4, which we've seen in previous generations from Titleist. However, we're seeing some performance differences this time. Now, to take us a little bit deeper when it comes to the technology on these 3 heads, we're going to catch up with John, who is the Master Fitting Specialist at TPC Woburn. Let's go and have a chat with him. Well, John, another exciting time for Titleist.
Yep.
Are you ready to introduce us to the GTS?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the first point to talk about would be sort of with GT, obviously we had the three levers that you pull for total performance. And we've added like a 4th dimension to that with GTS. So where you've got the MOI, the aerodynamics and the CG placement, we've then added a personal performance category to that as well. So as we delve into the head structure and what's changed from GT to GTS, you'll start to understand what we mean by that personalized performance sort of factor. So with the driver, obviously, you know, in GT we're using the PMP crown.
Yep.
So we've now got a PMP body in GTS.
Okay.
So increased by 13 grams. So 26 grams in total.
First thing you notice when you, even just picking this up now, but going back to the old GT, should we say, was how lightweight that material was.
Yeah.
And
using the same material gave us the same performance. So being able to test it in GT, the sound and the acoustic, because we wanted the sound to be the same as a Titleist driver. We wanted the look to be the same as a Titleist driver. The feel of it to be the same as the Titleist driver, but how do we make it better? So by creating more of the PMP in the body, so increasing it by 13 grams, gave us more discretionary weight to move around. So what that then leads you into in terms of the structure and the split mass tech, you put that in one hand.
oh wow.
And you put that one in the other hand. So that gives you an idea. That entire mass there accounts for 13% of the head weight.
Wow.
So it really allows us to shift that split mass tech. In the face structure, obviously we talked about GT being speed ring.
Yeah.
We've got speed sync in this one. And what you can see is you've still got the same sort of ring structure that you would sort of have seen in the GT, but it goes all the way to the top of the crown. The reason being, obviously we want to make that sweet spot a little bit larger. Hit high, let it fly.
Yeah.
And obviously accompany a little bit of the high strikes that you see in players getting more often than not, so we're not losing any ball speed or minimising the amount of ball speed that potentially they'll lose from hitting it high on the crown. So it goes back to that tee it high, let it fly theory.
Yeah.
So if you catch it there, you're not going to lose as much as you used to lose. Having this structure and having all that discretionary weight to shift where we want it to keeps the CG low and forward. So you get your fast ball speed, your good launch, your good spin. Have a little back weighting for stability, but then allows us to lift that tail up to increase the aerodynamic package. And then the added benefit that you get is the dual weighting.
Yeah.
So with the dual weighting, that allows you to basically shift or tweak center of gravity, and that's where the performance, the personalized performance comes in. So if you've got someone that GT is the right model for you, GTS3, sorry, is the right model, and you can shift that weight. Maybe they want a little bit more spin or stability, you can back weight it instead, whereas before it was just the front track weight. So GTS3, GTS4, we've got the dual weighting with the track weight in the back, and then with GTS2 you've also got the dual weighting. So it just allows us better ability to be able to personalize that for the individual player that they need. So giving you speed, giving you good launch, good spin control, and then adding that level of accuracy to it as well.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic to get the insight from John firsthand as to what is actually slightly different from this generation from previous generations. However, I have now been using a Titleist driver for, as I said, a number of years, and I've seen the differences certainly when it comes to my performance on the golf course with those different generations. But what I love about Titleist is that when I set this new GTS driver up, and I'll share with you my fitting of what I've actually gone into, I'm seeing actually something that's very similar to the other driver that I've had in the bag. And for me personally, I do like that. And the reason I like that is because I want familiarity when it comes to my driver. When I put a new driver in the bag, I want it to kind of look and feel similar to what I've had in previous generations. And I'm certainly getting that with this particular lineup. I'm getting more of a duller sound off the face, which I really, really like. I don't want it to pop too loud for me personally. And certainly when it comes to Titleist, that's going to be the feedback that they get from their tour players, exactly what they want to hear and see on the golf course. Now, the driver that John fit me into was the GTS 3. Now, I love the shape of the number 3. I always have, and I've had it in a number of the other generations, and certainly I had it in the GT3. However, the previous generation, we had the TSR, and I was fit into the number 2 because the 3 was a little bit low in the spin. Now, Titleist have learned all the way through these generations to find out what's going to work best for each individual player. And when we move into the GTS line, we're saving weight, we're being able to launch that ball just a little bit higher and create the right spin for each player, but we're able to dial the numbers in a little bit tighter with all the different fitting options. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at my numbers. Now, we started off this fitting using my own driver, just to give us an idea of how we're looking. And I've got to say, the GT3 driver has performed really quite nicely for me. And the numbers that I got, that I shared with John, were really quite positive. And he asked me what I wanted to achieve maybe a little bit different. And ultimately, for me personally, as it will be for you, I want a little bit tighter dispersion, but I want to get it out there just a little bit further. Well, we started off by moving into the GTS 4 driver. This is quite an intriguing driver for me because it's now a 460cc head, so slightly bigger than previous generations in the 4, and it's designed to be a little bit lower spin. And what's interesting is, even though it performed really quite nicely for me, I got that leaky one to the right hand side, which actually increased the spin. As the face delivers a little bit more open, it generated a little bit more spin for me, so therefore I was losing maybe a little bit of control. But then we move into the GTS 3 driver, and this felt like home for me. However, the slight difference between the GT3 to the GTS 3 was I've now got a weight port at the back, which enables me to be able to bring that weight a little bit further back, still getting me out there with the right amount of distance. In fact, I generated a little bit more distance, but my dispersion was a lot tighter. And what was also really impressive, and what I've seen in other generations of drivers, is that we're seeing a tighter dispersion when it comes to the spin numbers as well, being more consistent with that. So I was getting it out there a little bit further. I was generating a good amount of spin, but I was also getting my dispersion, as I said, just a little bit tighter. And then I had a little go with the GTS 2 driver, and again, the big difference from the previous generation to now the new generation is that we've got a weight port at the front of the driver, which enables us to be able to reduce that spin just a little bit more, and again is going to really help when it comes to the fitting process. Well, that was fantastic to go through that fitting process with the new GTS drivers. And I've got to say, moving on into this generation and seeing now what I would call a personalized performance from all of these models, being able to be fit perfectly into a head that's going to work for your game, I think that's the bit that really jumps out to me when it comes to the new lineup from Titleist. Every club has been designed for a player, and then it's down to the fitting to make sure you get that club to perform the best for you. And that's why it's so important to go and have a conversation with your foremost professional team, because you need to get booked in for a fitting to really put these to the test, and I'm sure one of them can help your game this season.